entire world. It's such a pleasure to be here once again. It's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. I'm sure you're excited to be here. And of course, I will use the opportunity to bring our analyst on board. Good morning, Folu. Good morning, Dr. Omotola the Great. How are you today? How was the weekend?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Finn. Good morning.
Good morning, Omotola. Good morning, Mr. Itaya. Good morning, world. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning to the Good Morning Education tribe. And I would also like to say this morning, good morning, Internet. Please, let's have a good show.
And good morning, Gideon Essen.
Yeah, good morning, Gideon.
Hello, can you
it's
hear
been
me?
a while. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
Well, I think that the internet wants to attack me, but we'll go for it. All right, on the show this morning, just be on standby just a bit. On the show this morning, we're going to be having a conversation about an important topic. Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah, you were off for a
Just
bit,
now.
but we can.
Well, I tried putting off my video so that would not affect content. But okay, let's go straight to the headline news. I think that would help. On the headline news, we have Nigerian Idol winner gets Bielsa government scholarship. Conversation on that, please.
Okay, so it's good to see that reality show that there are prizes or positively life changing prizes now for the Good Morning Education show. In time past, we have seen huge amounts of money given to first place winners and then runner ups and things like endorsements and stuff like that. But the government is giving Kingdom scholarship to complete his BSc, and if he wants to go on to masters, and that I believe is a lot more life changing than maybe just a car that becomes a liability to him later, or a house, or something that is transient. But for a scholarship and for him to go as far as he wants to go, that really is what life changing is for me, because you educate a person, you empower them, and he can have the education alongside doing what he wants, what he likes doing best, using his voice to make good music. So I would say congratulations to Kingdom, and well done to the Bielsa State government. This is a prize that is well thought out.
Dr. Motola, any comment on that?
I agree with Finn. I'm glad that they're choosing to honor him in this way and providing the scholarship. But I also saw that they were also going to make him an ambassador of youth. So I only hope that name is not just in title, but hopefully he can definitely do something to help influence policy on youth development in the state and hopefully across Nigeria as well. But will to go for the state and kingdom as well.
He never did the honor in this way. It sounds like praise and worship. Okay. Ogun Governor renames Tai Sholari College of Education after Oba Adetona.
On this one, I have mixed feelings. First of all, when institutions are named after people, their legacies. And well, going through, if I missed it, I probably missed it maybe, but going through the body of the news, I did not see a reason for the change of name. So is this political? Is this to settle some rift or some beef? I really do not know. But why the change of name, and why not name another monument after the Oba if it's for to honor him or to respect him or to immortalize him, whatever it is. Why change? Why remove the legacy of the name as it exists right now and transfer it to somebody else? That's a bit sketchy, but hey, I guess it's what it is.
Dr. Motola, what's your
Yeah, and
take
I'm
on that?
highly disappointed in the person that actually reported this news, because at the end of the day, the title does not match the context, because they were now talking about courtism. They didn't even speak about why they changed the name, like he mentioned. What is the relevance of the name change, except the science and technology that it was a college of education. Now they are adding science and technology behind the name of the person they named it after. And so it just seems so illogical. And then they spent most of the time speaking about courtesan and destructive issue. I'm like, it does not relate at all. And then, is it because the person gave them money? How much are they giving them? What is the relevance of the person? What is the importance? What is it? Yeah, it just does not add up. And I totally agree with you that I'm also a bit like, I don't see anything except maybe if you can share more light. But based on what they said, it's more about a political like propaganda than anything else to me, in my own opinion. But so I don't have any other thing to add to that.
Well, maybe let me help balance the equation. Of course, not defending that move, but the Oba Adetono is one of the, in fact, is a key Oba, especially when it comes to the Ogun State and Ijebu land, is one who's also seen several monarchs. He's outlived a lot of monarchs. So he's an historical figure. He's the pride of the Ijebu land. I think there was a stadium that was made by Globalcom or something for him. But there will always be this clamor that you can't have someone of that historical figure or that level of whatever, and his name is not. I think he's even on some boards of universities or stuff like that. So naturally, that clamor will come. Of course, there are dynamics that follow renaming public institutions, especially when they are learning institutions. But then it is what it is. Politics is part of everything. So we should not frown because it's politics, but maybe we should look at the objectivity, the relativity, and of course the implication of rebranding an institution. It's going to come with cost, because you're going to do a lot of change of name, renaming, consumables, branding. The of course, it's money. Anyway, let's not go there. Good morning, Rhoda. Good morning.
Good
Welcome to the show.
morning. Thank you. Good morning. As I listened to both of just the ending thoughts from the doctor and you, when I read the headline, I thought, oh, Sheila Ring, wow, that's like so special to education. Why that? But then I read everything and I said, okay, makes sense. Why? Because it is no more a college of education alone. And there's that dynamics there. It is now a college of education, of sorry, science, education, and technology. And it has to reflect that. So I guess that's where the name change came. I'm hopeful that maybe within, just to continue to keep the legacy there
The
of the
legacy,
man,
yeah.
Chancellor, that there are specific things within the college, because it's now basically, I mean, there is that structure there's a major shift. Let me say it this way in summary. It's no more would represent Tai Solarin as an institution anymore, because it now has the science and technology, and I'm sure there's a lot that is happening with that in terms of, well, I'm hopeful that there's a lot that's happening with that in terms of a lot more professionals and that's coming into the institution, a lot more will be built, a lot more students will be. It really needs to reflect, the naming needs to reflect all of that and what has become. But I'm hopeful that Tertiary Learning still has his name strongly better. So whatever part of it that's is education still needs to carry that. So the faculty, so the Tertiary Learning Faculty of Education, so to speak, I think should. We don't have all of those details written there, but it should still maintain that legacy that we had with the man. I think most headlines is are misleading. Honestly, journalists need to do a little more because that headline only captured that renaming, captured the whole thing as a renaming. Meanwhile, a lot more was spoken about. I think this is almost like 40% or 50% of the information there was about cultism and curbing cultism, and all of that. But yeah, my thoughts there. Good morning.
Most times, I guess they just want to get people's attention. They know the only, they know
Yeah,
the
it's
only way.
fine. I mean, that's what happens everywhere. That's what happens everywhere in the world. But at least give us a little, even if it's 50% of the information, it should be about that and a little more so that people can have a takeaway, from it. What is what is happening as that institution is becoming a science and technology education institution. At least tell us a little more. Then you can now go. But yeah, I know.
Okay, so NBTE Polytechnics to address unemployment by creating vocational skills training. This from Vanguard. Finn, do you
Yeah.
want to talk on that? Dr. Motola, you can as well.
Okay, so this is one area that I have been quite vocal and passionate about. Universities, the polytechnics are not on the head to head with renaming and upgrading, and I even have a problem with us with the term upgrading to university. They're not lower on any level. They're only functioning based on what they were set up to do. You were set up as a polytechnic. Doesn't make you any less of any other degree awarding institution. But now they are addressing unemployment by creating vocational skills training. Yes, it's a polytechnic. What they do is specialized training along uh, um, vocational skills. They're more focused on technical skills. So if you're training people along those lines and helping them get employment and helping them see employment opportunities along the lines that they're being trained in, then you are showing you're being proactive. You're responding to the essence of your creation and existence. I think more of them should do things like this. More of them should get into being relevant, being living up to what they expected to do normally than clamoring and all the time saying, "Oh, we want to be a university, we want to be a university," and they spend all of their time on that, ignoring what else they should do.
Okay, Dr. Motola, do you want to say something about that?
I'm just like, I am glad that they're finally catching up with the time, but it just seems like, yeah, I'm glad that they finally they're recognizing TVT as a way to go. But at the same time, I'm just a bit worried about how they're going to make it possible because I'm tired of open and then they'll just cut short somebody's hope like that and then it's not happen. But I'm excited and I like the fact that they are calling on everybody, like both private, government, public, individuals to come and to work together to create to be able to help make this a possibility. And they mentioned something about the fact that even though the government and other institute they have a lot of projects that requires TVET, but apparently according to that what they said, the sentence they said that there are a lot of foreigners that do it. So I'm glad that they're realizing that there's a need for it. Instead of having to bring foreigners from other countries to do the job, I'm happy that they're now interested in training youth and using that as a way to definitely curb unemployment. And so I'm hopeful, and I hope that hopefully I can have a role to play in it. I don't know who I need to connect to, but this is my area of specialty. So hopefully I can be part of the processing, helping in whatever way. But it's a good one.
All right, thank you so much. And Dr. Rhoda, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I think that so I'm happy about it. I'm happy about what Finn said. Like, it's upgrading is a bit yeah, I mean, sounds funny. I know that there was a trend on Twitter a couple of weeks or months ago where, and this was a US trend, where I can't remember how it started, but it was basically, a guy narrating how his friend or someone he knows earns a lot more than he does. The guys who fix the house, who come to who do the plumbing, who do the building and all of that. These guys actually do earn more than people who have a blue collar, white collar, whatever job, in the US, and they're doing really well. I think the only, as someone in curriculum, I think the thing that I found not that needs to be improved on is the bouquet of that is vocational skills and training. It's like, what is it made of? And my I guess what I'm hopeful for is that it's a strong curriculum that reflects our needs. So I'll give just one or two examples. We're constantly looking at road construction, and I'm not sure if road construction is or construction, building, and things like that are in the gamut of architecture and things and like that. But there are those guys who ultimately become the engineers and architects, who become like the experts in the field, who sort of like direct the design of of our environments, are not ultimately the skills men that end up paving the way, using like clear design principles to now implement and like build a strong road, have a strong building, make sure that it has all of the things that those guys who actually do the real work. There's a lot of construction happening on my road, and maybe that's why it's one of the first things that comes to mind. And I just see how those guys navigate the road, and I wish that they could do it a little better. And I know that vocational skills training is what does that. The plumbing, the mechanic, the guys who fix the cars, and the guys. So I'm just that bouquet that is vocational skills training. Does it really reflect our needs? And something that, of course, I'd be glad to support and help, to look at that kind of curriculum and say, here and here are the things that we should look at, and here's how we design the learning or the innovation that is required in our TVETs education. So hopeful that there is a lot more that can be done as we revamp that part of our education system.
All right, thank you so much. Let's try to quickly head to another news. Before then, welcome Safety Chick. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning to amazing panelists, and good morning to our audience.
What did you call us? Is it panelists? Or... Ugochi has been on too many panels lately. She's on autopilot. Oh my goodness.
We're on a virtual panel.
Yeah, you also thought to panel beta here. All right. So Rivers Varsity suspends 6 for cultism and exam malpractice. So let's give that to Ugochi. Ugochi, that's your breakfast on the show. Analyze this, please. That's our panel.
Okay, so well, it's a good thing that they are still able to do. They're still able to suspend people when when they catch them doing wrong, because I think there's something beginning to happen in our schools where people feel they can get away with things. Nothing is going to happen. right? So it's a good thing that somehow people are still saying that, oh, the penalties still exist. The only thing now is hope this penalty is not just some people that got it and then some other culprits did not get it. Because again, people now say, oh, maybe there were certain other factors that were used in making them the scapegoats and maybe releasing other people. There will just be all those other extra factors. But I'll just say that it's important that schools should, stand for their stand for what they stand for really. Because I remember that was it some weeks ago we had a news here where the students in Uyo were giving an ultimatum to their principal because they had reported them for cultism and all that. And they were saying if they were going to they were threatening basically that if something wasn't done, they were going to punish the principal, and the principal was scared for his or her life, you see. So this is now another school showing that they can actually do something about it. So I just hope that more schools are able to be firm and stand for what they have put down as the rules and regulations, so that we sort of maintain that order in our school. Otherwise, everything will just be lawless.
And then,
Okay.
like we said before, like we said before Ogochi came on, it is so annoying. They said it's 6 for cultism, but when you read the news, it's only one of them that was suspended for cultism, and the rest was either impersonation for examination or exam malpractice. So I'm like, it is so
He cannot
vexing
be a
sometimes.
cultist alone now. He has a group. so why is even like it's true? You cannot be a cultist alone. Only one man will pull in an entire
But
school. Where are the other people?
Ugochi, are you saying that there are only 6 people in that cult group? Eh, or they
They're
suspended,
not up. They're
or
not.
they suspended their ESCO?
What Dr. Motola is even saying is that of all the 6, is only one person that is being suspended for cultism. The other 5 is for different aspects of exam malpractice. So that's what I'm saying. Only one person is not the ESCO safe. He has a group. So where are they? Funny.
You know what's worrying? What's worrying is that I think that, there's a lot of cultism in secondary schools, and that wasn't
Mhm.
what it was in our time. So it has sort of like trickled back down to secondary school. You need to see what's happening in Lagos State secondary schools. There's the Ekpe, let me say the Ekpe area is really, Lekki Ekpe area is really, really bedeviled by, I don't know how to say it, is really attacked by cultism in secondary schools. The girls are scared, the boys are scared, and they have learned to do all kinds of things, including getting their hands into diabolical stuff. There's even another level now that they've added with making money in weird ways, and you wonder what's happening. It's like the decadence is so strong. So there is the Ajegunle side of things, there's the Ekpe side of things, Lekki Ekpe side of things, and there's the Korodu side of things. And young boys, 14, 13, 15, have
Hmm.
gangs where they are learned all of this. If you remember during the whole NSAS thing, and there's this 1 million boys. These people were they were young boys, secondary school children. And so it's a big deal and it needs to be dealt with. I know it's in the area of governance and society changes and corruption and all of that. It has all of this, but every government every government has to be serious about local governance, and that is using what we already have as a country, using the local government authorities to try to come up with something that is with sort of like rating for each local, something that's going to make local governments perform, because this is security and is something we should be really worried about. It's not, and I'm telling you, these boys are becoming brazen. They enter, they don't need to use guns. All they need is like what's it called? A crowbar or to threaten. A crowbar is enough. They get into your homes, they obtain your house, they steal things from your homes. No one is safe. They're the ones who are on the road. You're driving, you're in traffic. I don't know about you, but I'm always worried when it's getting dark. And nowadays they even do it when it's broad daylight. So it is serious security safety concern. It's called cultism, but it has too many legs to it, or value chains. I don't know, or this value chain. I don't know what to call
Value
it.
chain.
Something we should be really worried about.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Crazy. Mr.
People keep,
Rotimi, you're muted.
yeah, thanks. I think that's why people keep stressing, and the likes of Rhoda keep stressing the fact that we should try to work on the entire system and experience of learning, because a lot of times people just think it's not just by math and English. There are many things that make up for the total development of a student or a child. It's worrisome to hear that it's gotten to this point, because if at that age they started doing things like that, of course they begin to advance into worse situations based on the fact that there might be social misfit, there's desperation, and all those kind of things. Well, I don't know. So sad. So sad. So sad. Let's have another one. Emmanuel Ozigi, coronavirus responsible.
He is so annoying. Like, I just want to, I'm like, why are we even talking about this?
The people that
Telling
got
you.
several scholarship in this same corona still in
You
that
guys
jam.
are
You know,
not
the
nice. You guys
highest
are not
person,
nice.
the person with the
You
highest
guys are
score
not
in
nice.
this jam has
Those people are just
has
like,
gotten admission and scholarship
please,
outside the country.
can,
They say
can I have the
coronavirus.
number of the jam?
Ugochi, be
Whoever this
nice for
Emmanuel
once.
is.
Be nice for
No, we
once,
are not going
okay?
to be nice. There's no
No, no,
need to
no,
be
no,
nice
no.
in this matter.
Emmanuel Ozigi was selling
Rhoda,
his
please
school,
help me
guys.
appeal to these people to be nice, okay?
No,
Tell
there's no
them.
appeal. He wrote to me. He was selling his school, for crying
Oh,
out loud.
Jesus.
What was that? That was a
Oh.
news headline to sell the man's school. Are you for real? Coronavirus.
And honestly, I was hoping that you were going to talk about the WAECO that they said you're preparing for 1.6 million students. I'm like, I hope they learn from their counterpart jam so that we'll not hear the same story 3 or 4 months from now saying that, well, coronavirus was responsible for the mass failure of WAEC as well. I'm like, history is going to repeat itself. When I saw that item, I'm like, oh my goodness, I hope they are learning from their counterparts. But I'll hold my peace.
Okay, so yes, you asked for it. Now you have it. Why concludes arrangement for as 1.6 million candidates register?
Well, honestly, I'm not
Headlines
impressed.
like this.
Go ahead.
When I see headlines like this, what I wonder is, how is this news? They conclude arrangement as 1.6 million candidates register. What are they going to do differently?
Thank
What
you.
are they doing this year that is different from what they did last year? What have they put in place? Don't just say that, oh, this number of students have registered, and then you do a press conference. It's what is expected. You're expected to be ready. You're expected to make arrangements for the number of candidates that you have. What will be news is saying that, oh, we have a system in place that ensures that this doesn't happen, or we're mitigating this effect, or we're ensuring that. Let's know what is different. Not give us news and say, oh, this morning I woke up, and when I woke up, I stood up. Whose business is that? Tell us something that is newsworthy. Tell us something that parents can look forward to, that candidates can look forward to, and say, oh, this year, I know that as I put in effort into my exam, I'm going to have this level of preparedness from the exam body. Not tell us, oh, the WAEC, the person in charge of the board had a good cup of tea in the morning and so he's happy. Whose business is that?
Thank you, Fee, because that was exactly my sentiment. I'm like, there's no innovation. You're not telling us that you just well, they're worried about security, about coronavirus. I'm like, what are you putting in place? Are you providing extra marks? Are you going to sit them 3 feet or 6 feet apart? None of it is in that. And I'm like, why are you wasting our time? And I'm sure they spent money, or they'll say that they put money into putting this, but you're not making any point. And I'm just like, I really believe that history is going to repeat itself. What happened to JAM is going to happen again. 3 or 4 months from now, we'll hear from WAEC saying that, well, coronavirus responsible for mass failure for WAEC as well. So I've already predicted it, but hopefully they prove me wrong. But at this point, I'm just fed up with both JAM and WAEC.
I'm just
To be
worried
to,
about the psychology of the students that go through this, because this is not good. What they are doing is not fair to the students. Imagine you have planned your life, and due to the fault of the system, because many times you have students who have done their part, they have studied, they have done extra lessons, they are expecting good grades, and then they see results that do not belong to them. They know this result is not theirs, and so they become victims of the system, and they begin to see that it begins to put that culture, that perception that in this country, if you work hard for something, something will just shall happen and you won't get it. And it's not good for the psychology of young people. It's not good. It's not good. It's just unfair, really.
So
to
the
be
result,
honest,
okay.
I'm so sorry. To be honest, there was a predicted learning
Learning loss.
slide. There was going to be there was a predicted learning slide, or learning. I don't like to say loss, but it was a predicted learning slide, and it was predicted because of things that we know. Kids were not in school. They had limited access to internet and connectivity to have connections to those opportunities that will help them to learn. There was all of that, and it is not to say that that wouldn't be seen, that I mean, that if we don't even understand that's a reality. Again, most of these headlines or this information we receive are really about the general public, not about a small sector. So yes, there could be a worrying. I mean, there is something to worry about, or there is evidence to the fact that it's possible that there is a learning slide, and that's what that COVID, of course, affected it for many reasons. They were not in school, they didn't have access to their teachers as much, and it's a general conversation because kids were not in school. Period. And if they were not in school, they were not going to be learning. If they were not, and even if they were going to be learning, and the opportunities to learn was not handed down to many of those in public education. Now, some of their parents try to get parents, try those ones within the SSE group and the WAEC group and all the exams that the benchmark exams, high stakes exams they needed to take. But there is that. But to just, make it so flagrant and make it, those are the parts that become, really worrying. Like, who tracked it? What did the tracking say? Give us a report that people can use, not just a headline that really does not go back to any data points. So that's where it's worrying.
And
Thank you.
interestingly, I actually understand what you've just talked about, Mr. Dikbo. But you see, one thing that I'm also thinking is, we all knew that before schools resumed in September, we all knew that people had been out of school for a very long time. And we knew that we were preparing these children still to write exams sometime this year. There could have been a slight change in how children were going to be taught, with emphasis on what are the key things. Because we all, for example, in maths, there are certain subjects that that are always going to be a part of exams and all that. And since we know that we now have a limited
Ugochi, are you there?
Okay. Yeah, Ugochi, can you hear Ugochi? We can't
time.
hear Ugochi.
How about the areas, knowing that we have lost time? How do I say this now? We really don't like to go the extra mile for certain things. We just allow things to go, and it's just, some people say it's just 1 year. If they miss 1 year, oh, it's not the problem. But it's a problem because some children now that maybe they are in public schools, right? If their parents are not able to afford for them to go to a private school, they lose that year. Their counterparts whose parents can afford for them to maybe go and do one Cambridge and maybe go to a private school, go outside the country, those ones continue, and these ones feel that, oh, it's because we don't have money, that's why we could not also. So it just has a way of mess. I know they are teenagers, they are at that stage where they are trying to forge their identity and all those stuff. So it just has a way of creating that ripple effect.
I agree with you, Coach, and that's why it's that vicious cycle of And look at those guys, those kids, my counterparts, they have everything and they become the enemy. And so if these children now learn to survive on their own, because, well, they're not going to get that private tutoring, they're not, this public school will not provide opportunities for them to study. Look, they handed them, they were supposed to give them, I think, some smartphones or some things like that. Lagos State particularly did a few things to get them prepared for the exams. But again, access. It is access that is the real issue here. How do we prepare for people to have access? And it's costly, and people need to make honest investments and be really, really careful around it. Around the design. So I agree with you, Gochi. It's just the unfortunate thing, and it's just that vicious cycle that comes back to these kids finding less things to do and finding, they say what idle hands get to do. Yeah, idle hands find something else to do. And so they're looking for ways to make money. They're becoming 1 million boys. They're looking for stealing from people, obtaining people, getting into Yahoo and all of that, and then further increasing the population that has entered into decadence. Where we have things to worry about in this country.
All right, thank you. On that note, we need to move quickly to the grant for the day. The Rivers State governor is saying that the law school in Port Harcourt will be the best in Nigeria. And I say, thank God, good luck. So the grant for the day, Dr. Motola.
Sure. So the grant of today is from City Foundation. The deadline is rolling, meaning that you can apply at any period during this year, but the earlier the better. I always say the grant amount is not specific, so it can range. It depends. That means depend on the budget, but usually something from $1,000 to $10,000 or more. You can apply to use this funding for working career or college preparation, entrepreneurship, youth service, job creation, employment service, apprenticeship, and internship programs, and also financial literacy, business development, real estate and housing, technology access, and digital literacy, sustainability. And then these are the applicant type are non-profit organizations, NGO, or government entities. So that can be a government school as well. And the funding can be used for as a way to do a project or a program, or for educational outreach or training or capacity building as well, or also research. And the location is, you can be anywhere in the world, so you're not restricted to just being in Nigeria. And you can feel free to check out their website to read up and see if it's something you like to definitely go after. Thank you.
That's a very good one, and we hope people take advantage of that. And on that note, we come to an important conversation of the day: knowing yourself. Knowing yourself. And I'll really look forward to hearing from you all the diverse perspectives that this will be coming from. So let's start with Rhoda. Let's start with Rhoda. So a lot of people out there have heard this word. Tell us about yourself. They've heard it during interviews. In fact, when you meet people during networking events or social gatherings, sometimes you're almost going to face situations like that. Directly and indirectly, people would like to know you. What exactly should we be talking about when we speak on knowing yourself? Rhoda, over to you.
Okay, I'm certainly not an expert of knowing of this topic, but I think I can speak for myself. I think in my journey of discovery, of self-discovery, what I first tried to make sure that I was anchored upon was what I wanted to be in life, what I wanted to. So it was the being. What did I want to be? And then I then asked myself significant questions. In being that, what did I need to have? So once I answered what I wanted to be and what I needed to have, then I started working on it. And as I worked on it, and I realized that I was, it was something that I could be. So I wanted to be a person of value, a person whose life's work would create impact and change people's lives for generations to come. And I knew that one of the ways I could do it that I had skill for was in education and was in teaching and was in, basically creating platforms for people to thrive and for their lives to be significantly change. So my entry into that was in the world of education, teaching, and curriculum and learning innovation and things like that. So once I realized that that's what I wanted to be, I made a shift in career because I started out in accountancy and then quickly pivoted to education because that's exactly what I wanted to be. And then I started learning about the things I needed to have to get me to my being. So when I was doing it, I then discovered that I was actually good at it. Because again, sometimes people want to be things, but they don't have the skills for it, which is why we tell kids in classrooms these days, across all classrooms from pre-primary all the way to tertiary. Yeah, you literally have to be working along your strengths because what people say is that you amplify your strengths and outsource your weaknesses because you don't have to be we can't be everything. So you outsource those things that are not you because whilst you are trying to work on your weaknesses, something is going wrong and something is failing. So and you don't have the time for those things to fail. So you go and give it to someone who it is their weakness, their strength. So that's how that journey came into being. And as I thrived in it, I realized it was still simple for me to tell you that I am a teacher. And people will look at you like, but you have a big hair, you like makeup, you wear, and I don't have to prove anything to you. I am a teacher. That's who I am. Forever to be. Every profile of mine ends with I like to be identified as a teacher. Every profile of mine, wherever you might have seen it, and so it's then easy for me to now say, yeah, I'm a teacher who does this, who serves communities, who supports governments, who this, and those kinds of things. So it's easy for me to now narrate, and I work with blah, 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 and here's what I do with the organization. This and and so that has been my journey of self discovery. So I guess this topic is really about self discovery.
Yes, you said it, self-discovery. And I know that Ugochi would really want to jump on this because Ugochi is always an advocate of, personal mastery, knowing yourself. So Ugochi, please, could you take a step further to take us into this topic, especially when people now talk about knowing themselves. I know that a lot of people are quick to show or share an appellation or title. So nowadays, it's almost difficult to even remember people's personal names because they go by their aliases and all that. Ugochi, can you share some things on that?
Okay, so let me start with the basics. So the basics is first things first. If you really want to know yourself and you are not even sure of who you are, what are the things you like and what are the things you can do and things like that, there are tests online. There are tests that have been curated. And the thing is, it doesn't mean that when you do those tests, it's going to be exactly perfect, but it gives you an archetype, right? And then you are now able to say, okay, this is my archetype, but then there are certain things, there are certain tweaks here and there. So for example, there is 16personalities.com that helps you to know where do you fall, what are the things that are common to you and all that. And yes, they are broad should I say profiles. Then as you read through, you are now able to say, okay, this is more like me, okay, this one is not really me, this is more like me, and then you're able to have a picture of who you are. Then there is another one called serismooney.com. It's about your archetype because just like as Mrs. Odigbo was explaining now, she was talking about how she knows she's supposed to change the world and all that. There's an archetype that is should I say is related to and all that. So I think everybody should do those two tests at the minimum. Do 16personalities.com, do Serismooney, CERRIESMOONEY.com, and then of course you can also do your DISC just to really even know who are you, because when you go through, they will tell you the strength and the weaknesses of your person, and then it now helps you to know what are the things you need to work on, what are the things you need to reduce so that you are a better person, able to show up in strength. And it even lets you know the kinds of careers you would do better in, so that you're not wasting your energy in areas that do not belong to you. Now, bringing it to the question about aliases and all that, something happened in this country a few years ago that because a lot of people were stepping into entrepreneurship, and not necessarily entrepreneurship, giving back more aside their regular day jobs, right? Doing something else to make an impact in the life of other people. And there was this thing from coaches and mentors that, you've got to have a name that stands out, such that when people hear that name, they can relate to who you are and what you do, so that even without them seeing you, when they hear that name, they can have an idea of who you are. And that's even how Safety Chick even came about, because it wanted to be a name that when people hear it, okay, this has to do with safety. So that thing happened a few years ago, and it created a buzz, and people ran with it, and seeing how efficient it has actually been in helping people grow their brands and their work. So, for example, when you hear Trisha Bees, it's something to do with business. So when you hear Safety Chick, that it's something to do with safety. And so it's now made more people to say, okay, we too, we have to do this. Is a way of creating that differentiator, so that people know that, okay, this is what you stand for. These are the things that you do. Now, the balance is, as much as you create those areas, you must also know to separate Ugochi from the Safety Chick. So Ugochi is a human being that is blah, blah, blah. Now the Safety Chick is something that does blah, blah, blah. You should be able to create those, know those differentiators as the individual involved. Otherwise, it might now put you in a box, and you are not able to have other expressions and do the other things that you really want to do. So I think this is why it's really important to, have those tests and even know who you are, what you are supposed to be doing, and then how to plan and arrange your life.
Gideon is saying that Ugochi be coming down.
In which area?
I, I think you should know yourself. So you should do it. All right. So let's ask Finn. So do you know yourself? If yes,
Yes, I know
how
myself.
do you know yourself? Okay.
I
How
know
did you know
myself.
yourself? I want you to
And
share with us, how did you get to know yourself?
knowing myself is beyond my name is Finyefolu Falodio, I'm female. It took having to ask myself, strip away the societal construct of who you are expected to be. Daughter, sister, friend, whatever else. Strip all that away. Who are you when we take that away? And so one of the things, or one of the ways I got to know myself was through the scriptures. I was able to, I asked myself, who does God call me? And going through, I saw all of those things. I'm chosen, I'm beloved, I'm above always, I'm fearless, I'm strengthened. And I had to start internalizing all of that and start telling myself, look, where the society says, oh, you're a woman, you have limitations. Then I tell myself, I am limitless. Where where biology says that there's a strength, that there's certain things you can't do. You're a woman, you can't change car tires. Then I tell myself, I'm strengthened, I am strong. If I choose not to change tires, it's because I just choose not to, not because I cannot change tires. And getting to know or getting to be introduced to myself wasn't something that happened in one day. It wasn't something that happened in months. It happened over years. I had to consciously strip away. So when I came across things that said that wanted to define me based on the situation, when I had issues with school and it looks like, oh, you're going to remain in school forever, I had to tell myself and brace up and say, I am not a failure. But I didn't stop at who I am not. I replaced it with who I am. So I am not a failure. I'm a success. I'll take this exam. I will pass it. I have what it takes to be this person. I have what it takes to attain this height. I have what it I getting introduced to myself was, and one thing I like is writing notes. I write notes to myself a lot. So all over my room, I have stick up notes and everything that says, this is who you are, on my way out, on my window, on my mirror. And I can say this exactly is who I am, because I realize that sometimes we talk to professionals or we talk to, and we still cannot figure ourselves out. So they're asking you, what are you good at? And the person is just thinking, what am I good at? What am I good at? I'm not good at anything. Or is it, I'm good at many things. And he really cannot pin that, okay, so this is the exact place where I have the strength. This is the exact place where I have this weakness. What are the things I'm afraid of? I'm afraid of so many things now. I'm afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of spiders. going beyond those ephemeral things and saying, oh, I don't like cockroaches. Yeah, you don't like cockroaches, fine. But when it comes to skills, when it comes to what defines you as a person, what are those things that you really are afraid of and that you need to confront and call up who you on the inside, who you stand out to be on the inside, regardless of what the society says, regardless of whatever ceiling is placed. And you can say, yes, this is who I am, and because this is who I am, this is what value I have to offer. This is how I can contribute to my world. This is how I can make things better for myself and for those around me. And this is how I want to be remembered when my time here is up.
Why sounding like hey, I won't say it. You sounded like someone and I won't say it. All right. So Dr. Motola, know yourself. I know that Dr. Motola is always sharing certain things, and I want her to zone in on where our philosophies come into play. I know she's always saying a life never examined is not what living, a business never reviewed is not what having. All those, Omotola has all those lyrics in Cocoon. So, Omotola, over to you, Dr. Omotola. Please tell us the place of personal.
Present. I guess for me, it's about, I think I struggled most of growing up, like not knowing exactly who I was. I was so what, like, yeah, I was afraid of my own shadows, let's just say. And like, so it took me a while to finally realize that actually everybody has their life to live, and I have to decide for myself what I wanted my life to be about and what I wanted to stand for. And so for me, I'll say it took a lot of deep reflection and like going through failures, of course, and say, okay, what did I learn from this? Because sometimes you can keep repeating the same failure over and over again because we're not learning from it. And so I think part of knowing ourselves is knowing that, okay, this is my limits, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, these are opportunities, and these are threats for me, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to focus on. And so I think for me, it's knowing myself, being involved, like reflecting on what I've done, what I'm doing, why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and then making those choices. And like Ogochi and the rest of the analysts have said, yes, it's good. All of those personality tests. I think 1 year I did like 8 or 10 of them. Everyone I could find, I did it, like, and it was very helpful. So now it's easy for me to define my core areas, the strength that I have, and the things that I want to improve upon or work on. And so I think sometimes, like Fina said, most people allow the society to define them, and they let that be the story that they tell about their life, about what is possible for them. But when we take the time, and it's a lot of work, I don't think it's a journey that will end, because at every stage there are different seasons of our life, different things that can happen. So don't think of it as, oh, once I know myself this year, then that's the end. No, there'll be greater opportunity, greater items, things that will come your way, and then you have to go back to the drawing board. It's okay, what has happened, what has changed about myself, what is different, what do I need to work on, what do I need to do less of in that regard as well. So for me, I think knowing yourself is about choosing who you want to be, knowing your purpose is, okay, this is what I know I'm made for, this is what I'm called for to do in this world, and this is what it's going to take for me to be able to bring it to pass, and being willing to invest the time, the effort to do it. Like every day I'm constantly learning. Like I don't think I know myself fully. I'm growing in that knowledge of myself, I'm increasing in it. So I think it's a lifelong journey. It's not like, oh, once I get to this age or once I get to this position, then that's the end. I believe that it's a continuous one. And so that's I always tell people, that if you don't examine your life, you might think that you're growing, but you're dying. So it's a constant journey. But yes, knowing the basics is good by doing those personality tests and everything. But it is your responsibility to keep introducing yourself to yourself, and then you can now do that to the world as well.
Hello.
Hello? Yes.
Well, with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. That's
So,
the end.
thank you so much. I know that you're going to chip in those your lyrics, one of one of the things I said. You just don't know. You just might be dying. It sounded like a prescription from a doctor. Anyways, I know that it's a very important topic. I know that we are out of time for that, but the essence of knowing yourself really is to prepare yourself to be yourself, to deal with others, being yourself, and to be able to get the best of others, being yourself. A lot has been said from Rhoda to Ugochi to Finn and now to Dr. Motala. So the baton is back to people out there, the likes of Gideon Essien and the likes of our tribe members, Olushola, Olumide, the likes of those who joined us today, Senna from Ghana. Just ensure that you're not living the worst version of yourself. And for you to live the best version of yourself, you must know yourself. And it takes knowing to grow. So you need to know yourself before you can grow yourself. I believe that that's all we might be able to take today. The Grand Development webinar was great. I'm sure those who were part of it, experienced an awesome time. I did, and I'm still basking in the euphoria of it. Just wanted to say thank you to all those who participated from the Good Morning Education Show tribe, and we believe that great things are coming ahead. It's a holiday tomorrow and next, so to our Muslim brothers and sisters, we're asking them to enjoy the holiday, and everyone, of course, enjoy the holiday. But we will be on the show as usual. We are always there because it's always a great morning on the show. So we bring this to a close as we say our usual greeting.
Before we say it, please, quickly, before we say it, I wanted to say that I didn't share two things that helped me to know myself. Is feedback and assessing the relationships that I had. So I was open to feedback. Tell me about myself. You have to be open to feedback. And then I also assessed the relationships I had, because the relationships I had often reflected who I was. Yes, so that's it.
Yes, feedback is very important. And if for some people you might need someone beside you, like a counselor or a therapist, because by the time feedback comes, some people will faint. Not everybody has the stamina for feedback. It can be painful.
And stand up. You faint, you get up and get better.
Abby?
Yes. So it's not how many times they say it falls.
Well,
it's how many times it gets up.
Okay, so let's count to say our greetings. 1, 2, go.
It's always
great
morning.
Good morning, education.
Good morning, education show.
Titi is not here, but we'll say show on our behalf. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye. Happy holiday.